Hola, hola, hello, ¿cómo están amigos, amigas? Bienvenidos once again to Lima, Peru. Welcome to my home and also welcome back to this series dedicated to the wonders of Peru. These incredible destinations, these different sites that we have in this country that are awaiting for you all to discover. And well, this series, of course, is done with an intention of promoting these different touristic destinations, these cities also internationally. Well, I am an official professional tour guide here in Peru. I got it for many, many years in the city of Lima, and as well had the pleasure and the honor of escorting groups to different parts of the country of Peru. So, well, this series is based on my experience in the sites, but also in research I've done to give you the best information that I think that you can also use in planning, maybe to plan future visits to Peru. So if you wish to also see the rest of the series, because we are actually covering part 5 of this series. Well, let's say chapter, let's say 5, because we had also seen different other destinations together, but every chapter is subdivided in different parts. So we already covered Cusco, we covered Lima, Ica, Arequipa, and now we are heading towards the north coast of Peru and to see its wonders. So if you want to access to all of this information, it is all available in my Patreon platform. So Patreon gives me the possibility of creating a community that also supports my work with a donation, monthly donation of $2, $5, $10, or $20. Well, the amount depends on you. You're going to be given in return basically the same access, the same information, so you can access to this video library. I also stream weekly. I tend to do it every day, but it depends also on my agenda, my work agenda. So, well, you are always welcome to join my live streams. So, well, now we will continue with this series. In today's occasion, we are going to cover the part 3 of the let's say chapter dedicated to the north coast of Peru. In the first part, we talk about the geography of the north coast, or the different, let's say, like climates that exist in the north coast, the realities. In the part 2, we talk about the pre-Hispanic societies that existed in the north coast of Peru. And in this part 3, we will be heading into archaeological sites, and the most famous archaeological sites we have in the north coast of Peru that, in my understanding and also in my experience, you cannot skip also visiting. Okay, so now let's go to, well, the series after this little introduction. And as always, we will start with the map of Peru, and also along the whole event, from beginning to end. We will be seeing images projected here on YouTube. If for any reason you don't see the images, the pictures related with what I'm talking about, sometimes it happens. It just disconnects. It's the way how YouTube behaves sometimes. So please let me know. I will really, really appreciate that, because this is streamed live. So you can also send me a message here on the chat. There is an interactive chat right next to the image. At least I see it like this way here in the YouTube app. So you are free to comment, to mention also what you think about this event, ask me questions, anything. Okay, so well, here we can see the map of Peru, and this is a little introduction also to those that haven't been able to let's say, tune in this with this series since the beginning. Just to give you a brief introduction, well, Peru's north coast is one of the less known in touristic level destinations in the whole country, and that's really sad. And sometimes I say, like, I don't know why, because the North Coast is so rich in history, in nature. You have also wonderful beaches. If you love surfing, that's the place to go. If you love just, laying your back in the beautiful white sand, that's the place. If you want to see incredible fauna, nature is there. And also archaeology. If you are crazy about the Incas, the pre-Incas, Machu Picchu, and the ancient civilizations, I'm sure that you're going to love the North Coast. Also, Peru, you can see the map on the left-hand side, this map that is very colorful. Peru is divided in 24 departments. We have 24 departments. And in this occasion, unlike the previous events I've done, when I cover, for example, Ica or Arequipa or Lima or Cusco, I will not take you just to one section or one department. We're going to be moving actually across four departments. Well, we've already done this since the beginning, like talking about, well, these four departments. La Libertad is one of them. The second one is Lambayeque, Piura, and Tumbes. Okay, so those four departments have coast, and the northernmost Tumbes limits with Ecuador. So in the, say, geography level, this is the physical map. The other one is the physical map of Peru. You can see that the coast of Peru in that section also widens a lot, because in most of the territory of the country that we call coast, in the southern part, for example, the coast section is almost inexistent. We just see like the Andes, the mountains getting into the ocean. But in this section, the territory is very different. It's flat for like bigger, let's say, or longer kilometers. And that also creates a interesting diversity in that section. So, well, we're going now into the archaeological wonders that exist in this section in the north coast of Peru. I have chosen for you just really few sites because there are so many, but I think these places are must visit sites. And also, I've tried to put them in certain chronological order, but of course, like we will need to have a previous understanding of the society. So I'll try to give you a refresh in terms of pre-Hispanic societies. But also, if you want to go more in depth about those, in my library, video library on Patreon, you have already uploaded the video about the pre-Hispanic societies of the north coast of Peru. So, well, as I said before, the north coast of Peru has lots of temples, pre-Hispanic archaeology awaiting for us. And I think that from all of these different sites I've chosen for you all to see, in my series that I've already in the fifth part of that series, like from all of these different destinations, the north coast is probably the most proud of its pre-Hispanic heritage. And this is definitely like reality, undeniable, because there you can see such an enormous amount of temples, of also museums, like focus in pre-Hispanic archaeology, enormous, even more than in other parts of the country that are more like linked to pre-Hispanic history. And in a way, also, we have to thank, well, the nature that has helped us preserve those temples, and also the abundance of those temples. There were so many temples, and they were so big that, well, looting, the terrible activity of looting that and still continues nowadays, was not really done in a way that would finally destroy all of those temples. So it was done in a terrible way. Many sites were destroyed also partially by looting cemeteries. But we had so many of those temples that not even with the big amount of looting that the country has faced in the last 150 years, more or less, of history, we were denied of having access of pristine archaeological sites that, well, thanks to modern science and specialists, now we're able to understand. So, well, now let's talk about, well, these archaeological sites. And in the north coast of Peru, there's something really interesting, like an implemented route or circuit called the Ruta Moche, or Moche route. And when we talk about Moche, we're basically referring to the pre-Hispanic societies that existed in the north coast of Peru, and in particular the society, the culture, the civilization called Moche, also known as Mochica. So this society emerged around the beginnings of Christian era, existed until the year more or less 800 of our era. So for about 800 years, 7 to 800 years, this culture existed in the north coast and built and, well, edified like huge temples. Like the edifications of these from these people were immense, no, huge. And this is one of the cases from the circuit of the Huacas de Moche, the root of the Moche temples of the north coast. We have the Huaca del Sol, or the Temple of the Sun. So also recapitulating those that haven't heard before about the terminology Huaca, which comes from Quechua. Quechua is one of the 40 languages that we have in the country, indigenous to this territory, referring the word Quechua to could be shrine, could be temple, could be let's say priest, also someone touched by the deities, by the gods. Huaca refers to nowadays basically an archaeological site, a site that was used for ceremonies in the ancient times. The temple, or Huaca del Sol, Temple of the Sun, has, according to, of course, the pre-Hispanic idea of duality, the balance, the perfect balance of the world. It always has an opposite, which is the temple dedicated to the moon, the perfect the perfect opposite to the sun, moon and sun. So this construction is huge. It reaches about 30 meters high, so it's really big, and it's made all in mud. So I know that from the picture, probably you don't notice that this is not a hill. This is a temple. It's a temple that was made with quite small bricks. And I think that the next picture will give you a better understanding of how enormous this site is, but also which was the material that was used to build such constructions in the ancient times in the coast of Peru, in the north coast. So there you see that beautiful lady over there standing, and we can also notice clearly that the composition of this construction is well, millions of adobe bricks that were made from mud. So those mud bricks were sand dry. No, they were not like cooked or baked on let's say like furnaces. In this case, well, the sun in the north coast is so radiant that well, it is really capable to dry quite hard bricks like this soon, no, very fast. So well, notice that also the top of the temple have evidences of damage caused by water, in this case rains. In the north coast of Peru, we don't have, of course, much rain. In average, for example, in the north coast, we have 5 cubic centimeters of rain per year, a bit more than here in Lima, where it's about 1 cubic centimeter of rain per year. But even though, well, the rains are normal, every once in a while we have something we call El Nino phenomena, and that can be destructive. El Nino phenomena visits us every certain amount of times. We know that in the old days, the appearance of El Nino was not really like a common. El Nino usually took no less than 25 years to appear. That's a phenomenon that is caused by the arrival of cold, warm waters into the normally cold water that we have in front of the coast of Peru, that is known as Humboldt Current or Peruvian Current, that comes from the Antarctica. So this warm current of water coming from the north, coming from Ecuador, Colombia, Central America, penetrates into this territory and creates, well, an imbalance of things in terms of the temperature in the atmosphere. It goes higher, and we have precipitations also in a place where normally we never have rains. So that really creates disorder. And the pre-Hispanic societies were all dependent on rains from the Andes being transformed into water coming to the valleys, low valleys, by rivers. It's not that they didn't need rain. They didn't need rain to happen here. Evidence of that is temples they had. The temples they had were made in adobe. They will not have temples made in adobe, in mud, if they knew the rains will come, right? So they knew that rain was important, but rain had to happen in the Andes, in the mountains, where, of course, it was safe for us to have the rain. And that rain will be transformed later in, well, fresh water brought by rivers to the desert. So that's how these people coexist with the desert, with their reality. So when El Nino happened, well, it was catastrophic because their temples were destroyed, their agricultural fields, and actually I was going to that. These societies were agricultural societies, 100% agricultural societies in most cases. In the coast, they also depended from fishing, but agriculture still was a very important part, vital part of their lives because, at least for example, if you had to fish, you needed nets. And from where you will get the nets? From cotton, for example. So these societies depended on the balance, and the balance was guaranteed by the deities, by the gods, by the sun, by the moon, by the rainbow, by the lightning, by these supernatural creatures, as they call them, that guaranteed that things happen the way they should. So these temples were sites of great worshiping. And this is something that we can also recognize in the very archaeological sites, because we know these were magical spaces, they were magical zones, magical sites that were not visited by everybody. They were visited just by few people, chosen ones, who were allowed to come inside those temples and also become witnesses of these events. Sometimes the people who participated of these events were not eyewitness. They were sacrificed people, or people to be sacrificed, the chosen ones. So later I'll tell you a bit more about this. So sites like this one, for example, this location that has, well, these beautiful two temples. This is the Huacas de Moche, also of Trujillo, in the department of La Libertad. Well, it has a complementary opposite, the temple of the sun, which is of course the temple of the moon, and is the one you are seeing here below this sacred apu or hill. That is the element probably that in the cosmovision of these people, of these pre-Hispanic people, of the Moche culture, it indicated that this site was special. Usually the stories associated with apus or guardian hills are fantastic. No, they are stories of deities that came to earth, for example, and transforming a hill to protect the people from something atrocious, or lovers who fell in love and they were separated, for example, by the deities, because this love shouldn't happen, and they were turned into heels. So that's really the source, most of the times, of the fantastic, let's say, the explanations we have to these heels and the spirits that live in them. So, well, Here we can see the construction of the Huaca de la Luna, and it is again all made in mud bricks. This construction also is over 20 meters tall, so it's a little bit smaller than the other one, but it still is impressive. And this is the part that basically like doesn't show really the murals and the art inside, because by the way, all of these temples used to be colorful. They used to be painted. They were not just like the natural mud color. No, not at all. And we have excellent evidences still nowadays about the quality of the murals in those archaeological sites, the images in those murals. Surprisingly, we still have the images in some sections fairly intact. And well, we have also here a recreation of how those murals, especially the main mural of the Temple of the Moon, was also looked like. So here you can see, first of all, the facada in the left hand side that shows what exists nowadays. So the Huacas de Moche circuit that includes these two beautiful archaeological sites was also a place that was visited in special occasions, probably during the times of the phenomena associated with El Nino, for example, to, well, in a way, also connect with the gods for, say, like stopping these phenomena somehow. No? So we don't know exactly how this happened, but we know why, well, these places were so important. So in the murals, we have the information of these, let's say, in the first level, these people that are all tied one next to the other. They are all naked. That's what we see in the bottom part of the first level, let's say, of this construction. And these people, they are being sort of like presented here in this plaza, all naked, because they are the defeated ones. With other investigations done also in this archaeological site, we have the understanding that these people, previously to this ceremony, they were also, they took part of a ceremony in which they fight with other people. We don't know how they were chosen. We don't know exactly where they came from, but they were people of importance for their society. And these fights produce at the end, well, winners and losers. So it's believed that the losers were taken into these places previously after a cleansing process and intaking of hallucinogenical plants. Also, that's another basic thing for these ceremonies and understanding these ceremonies, the intake of hallucinogenical plants by both parties, the parties that were like to be the ones who committed the sacrifices, and also the ones to be sacrificed. So these fully naked men, only men, also are portrayed here, are followed in the next level, in the second level, by priests, these characters that are holding hands, standing one next to the other, are a priest or the officiators of these ceremonies. And then we continue, no? In the next part, we have like creatures, supernatural creatures, sort of like spiders or crabs. We have snakes and different types of entities that are associated with the war under, with the world of the dead. So we know that temples like the one you see over there, Temple Huaca de la Luna, Temple of the Moon, initially were small, short in height, and they kept, well, growing as this community started to add more and more and more material. Like many other pyramids around the world, the pre-Hispanic pyramids of the Central Andes of South America were pyramids that were made as consequence of the passing of hundreds of years and the accumulation and the layering, let's say, of new levels one over the other. So that's how these temples grew in height. And, well, if this society didn't finish, well, it will continue growing. So that was the intention. There was not really a limit put by them. in height. It was basically the end of the society that stopped the construction of this temple. So here a little bit of the information of how these temples were all covered inside with different materials. In this case, like to add a new level of temple in sites that are made in mud bricks, you need to, let's say, cover fully the first level, for example. So if you had initially, let's say, like a platform where there were rooms and spaces for ceremonies and an altar, let's say, and there were walls that were beautifully painted, for example, and you wanted to improve that temple, uh, because maybe a phenomena was about to come, a Nino phenomena started to appear. So these people, in their desperation to make, well, the gods happier, they believed the gods were unsatisfied with the temple. They decided to make a new level, to bring a new level, even more beautiful, more painted. So to add that new level, they needed to fill in all of the rooms inside, and that's what you're seeing here. These bricks, these mud bricks, that millions of them actually were used to fill in. And they didn't destroy the walls and the frescoes inside, they just covered them. And then later, after they finish that layer, they put another floor, right, on the top of that existing, pre-existing level, and they, well, like put walls and painted on the walls. And here, by the way, what you see is one of the most important deities represented in the times of the Moche or Mochica culture. The name of this god is Ayapaik. Ayapaik is known usually as the decapitator, because he usually has heads decapitated in his hands, and is associated with the killing of these defeated, for let's say, for the process of extraction of blood, and all of that. So this deity is constantly represented in this period of the history of the north coast of Peru. Ayapaek has sort of like a, there is many, or there are many interpretations about him, always with fangs of puma, smile of puma, these elements coming out from the head that looks like waves, but it could be also related with a spider, let's say the legs of a spider, or sort of like an octopus could be, or maybe solar element. So the interpretations are many, but he is known as the decapitator, Aya Paek. So well, here we can see a very important museum also of this part of the circuit in the north coast of Peru, the Museo or Museum of the Huacas de Moche. So this circuit, this particular circuit, is known the Huacas de Moche, and there are many beautiful potteries inside, many beautiful potteries, and golden pieces, and let's say objects discovered in these two temples that are in exhibit there. But I think what one of my favorite is this one that represents a priest. And what I really like about this one is the fact that, well, this priest, according to, well, the realism in the pottery is, of course, absurd. It's so real. It looks like a picture of that time. So it is so well done that you can see that this person was blind. So there are evidences, clear evidences of, well, let's say some visual impairing in this person, and also, well, the importance let's say, of the blind people. We don't know if this person was born blind or became blind, but also the importance and the participation of blind people in this type of like life of, let's say, related with the spirituality, the foretelling, the healing. There are several potteries that displayed that in the pre-Hispanic times, blind people were also considered to be special. Mm. Um, so we continue to another part of the north coast of Peru, another museum, and this is another one of my favorite. And soon you're going to know why I like it so much. This is the Museo Cao Museum, and this museum, well, is located right next to the archaeological site that was investigated also since the beginnings of the say 2000s by a Peruvian archaeologist. And this archaeologist, he Remulo Franco, I think his name is, he discovered in this place the burial of a powerful woman from the past. So something important for us to understand in this point and why this is so special is that at the time of the arrival of the conquistadors, there were not so many documents done by on the side of the Spaniards about, for example, the role of women in pre-Hispanic times. Like most of the things were focused in men of authority, well, the Inca, the let's say local chiefs that existed. So, but women in roles of authority, there were not examples or not so many examples that the Spaniards took note from. But the only part in the country where the Spaniards noticed that there were powerful women, women that really took control, was the north coast of Peru. And that's in the time when the Spaniards came, the 16th century. The Capullanas, for example, in the north coast, like these women from the north coast tended to be really powerful, very, very strong, and also capable in many ways to take decisions and be respected but by everyone, but men and women. No? So the north coast of Peru, and from starting from this point, we understand that it was a zone with lots of female power, women power. Okay, and that also makes me very proud. But the archaeological site Cao shows that there were indeed women that rule above men, and also that were chosen to rule since birth. It's not that, well, because maybe their husbands couldn't rule, like in Europe, for example, most of the cases, but they had to take the place of power. So this is the case of Cao, and well, that archaeological site that you saw in the picture also, if we were able to reconstruct nowadays how it originally looked like, it would look something like this. Well, again, the same design like in the Temple of the Moon, in the previous site we visited. It has basically the same distribution, a big plaza for ceremonies, for events, and this temple sort of like pyramid, a step pyramid, with more scenes related with say sacrifices. No, so this woman was a very important lady in front of her people, a very important person that officiated and organized also all kinds of events, all kinds of ceremonies, including also ceremonies associated with human sacrifice. And seems that this is something associated with the Moche people, the sacrifices and the obtaining of blood, which was something not seen like commonly, like seems that it didn't happen every day like in other societies in the world where human sacrifices were something more like a norm all the time. But they were definitely associated with specific moments either associated with climatic problems or also times associated with renovations of the temple. The temples, every time they were, let's say, increased in size, and this we can see from the investigations in the temples, every time a new level was put on top, there were men who were sacrificed. Also, these men were warriors. We know that they were young and that they were, well, chopped in pieces, and they were left as part of the temple to make the temple stronger, to resist. So another thing that I like about this lady of Cao, the Dama de Cao, which is the way in Spanish how we call this lady of high level. This well, we're not sure if she was a queen, but we are definitely sure that she was very important, very special. Is that well, we have her mummy, and the mummy we have of her is in such good state that we see very very well the skin, for example, of this lady, and the skin shows evidences of tattoos that were not really done by most people in that time. Tattoos were just something like given to the most important people of the highest ranks, and also the tattoos she had in her arms, because the arms of this woman were the most tattooed in the whole body. They are all having drawings, images, recreations, representations of uh, animals that are associated with the underworld. And naturally, also the underworld, according to the let's say the cosmovision of the pre-Hispanic people, the underworld was associated with the femininity, the world of the female. The underworld is the world of darkness, the world of humidity, the world of mother water, also. The world of the dead is the world of the snake, and you see also the snakes over there in her arm. Is the world of the spiders, the world of the darkness, as I said before. And why darkness is associated with women and humidity associated with women? Well, women have the capacity of bearing life inside them, in their let's say uterus, and when the uterus is in gestation, the uterus has lots of liquid, and also is a world of darkness. There is also an association of this world of origin with the caves underground, with the watering holes. So that is associated with the femininity. So well, but this woman also, in even related with this idea of reproduction and being pregnant, we know from her mummy that is in such good condition. We can see her hair, for example, beautiful long hair, her skin, her fingernails, feet, everything. Well, we also can see clearly that at the level of her tummy, the skin there is very, very loose. It's like she is in general a very young person. It's determined that she was about 25 years old when she died, more or less. But the skin in her tummy, it looks like a like elderly skin. And why? Well, the investigations say that when she died, she had a big tummy. Mhm. And she didn't have time enough to recover or to reabsorb that skin. So the big tummy, and also investigations done inside her uterus, and evidences, of course, left there of, let's say, a baby in there at some point. Well, not maybe the baby, but all the, let's say, the placenta inside the uterus. Well, it gives enough evidence to say that she died either during childbirth or right after childbirth. So, well, this woman had in her tomb, that was also beautifully decorated, lots of different reminders of who she was, and one of them is the ceramic you see on top of the arm. So that ceramic shows a like fortune teller, a witch, someone that was able to see the future or predict the future, that is imposing one of her hands over the baby that this woman has. Presumably, the baby is the future Lady of Cao. So she's very, very early in her life, she was chosen to become a ruler. And the location where the archaeological site of the Lady of Cao was discovered was previously known as a powerful place for witches. The site is known as Huaca el Brujo. Huaca, you know already, is archaeological site, and Brujo means witch. So this place was known as a site ancestrally, and really until like recent times, a place known for witches to absorb powers or to console the deities. So there was sort of like this orally transmitted knowledge from the pre-Hispanic times that exists until these days, in which, well, the local people that are also more inclined to continue in this path of healing, spiritual and physical healing, they continue following. So, and also you can see, well, how a market for witches would look like. By the way, on the left hand side, that's a picture from the witches market of Chiclayo. And well, there you can see also all kinds of elements associated with the healing intentions or medicines used until these days. And also, there are other important archaeological sites in the north coast of Peru. And another one of my favorite is this one called Huaca Arco Iris, or Rainbow Huaca, also known as Huaca Dragón or Dragon Huaca. And the reason why it's called Rainbow and Dragon is because of the images that you see in the walls in this site, and they are replicated in several parts of this temple. So, well, this waka made entirely in mud. Once again, that's the norm in the north coast of Peru, has these symbols that look like a rainbow, right? So if we focus on the image, especially on the bottom part, in the bottom picture, so you see this element that looks like a rainbow, but in reality seems that it's a Vicephalus snake. It's a snake with two heads, one in each end. And probably this rainbow is related also with water. Okay, curiously, because like rainbows are also related with water, but snakes as well are related with water. According to the pre-Hispanic vision of the world, of the magical world, what rivers, they move like snakes. They have appearance of snakes also, and they are associated, the snakes, with water as well. They are also associated with the underworld, the snakes. So, and there are these little creatures that are below. There are actually two couples of creatures that are not really clearly identified, but look like little dragons. And for example, there's one couple that is looking at each other's very, very close, symbolizing also the idea of the opposites that complement each other's, feminine and masculine. That also is what these people needed, this balance of things, this union, this mystical union, and of course, most importantly, the reproduction that the opposites produce once together. So this represents the idea of reproduction, probably is related with a call for reproduction of animals, or of the crops, the growth of the crops. And right below that, let's say, couple that you see there, which I don't know if you can notice, but it's right here in this section. I'm trying to mark it with an arrow. Right below, we see another couple. And this couple of the same creatures, they have between them, in the center, a tiny tumi. And a tumi is a knife, as a ceremonial knife that is associated with, well, the sacrifices, in some cases, even human sacrifices. So, well, probably this is related with also what is necessary to be done for acquiring this fertility, the sacrifices. Okay, and let's continue. And we have another important museum in the North Coast. This time we're moving a little bit forward to the department of Lambayeque, and well, close to Trujillo, sorry, Chiclayo, which is the capital of Lambayeque. And we are talking about the museum, Tumbas Reales de Sipan, or Royal Tombs of Sipan. I have also in this channel in YouTube a video that I made a long time ago for you all. It was a live event that, well, where I show you how the museum is inside. It was like a sort of like a recorded virtual tour of the museum. And well, if you want to see it, if you want to learn how this museum is inside, I highly, highly recommend you to visit. That video is here on YouTube. So well, the museum, which is fairly new, is from 2002. Recalls also these pyramid style constructions that, well, evoke more, in my opinion, at least from the first side, the Egyptian pyramids. But this is a reinterpretation, basically, of the pre-Hispanic pyramids, because our pyramids were not pointy; they were step pyramids, and on top, the last flat section on top were places for ceremonies, were places for officiating important events, in which the public below will be able to become part of it, and the gods as well on top. Those ancient temples had ramps as a way to access to the top instead of stairs, because the stairs, they are harder to be preserved in this type of environment, taking in consideration that the material was not stone, was mud. So that's why these pre-Hispanic people prefer ramps. No? So this is a recreation of an ancient ramp and an ancient temple. And inside we have in exhibit the jewelry, and also the bodies, and the funerary context that were discovered in a very important archaeological site, not so far away from the location of the museum, in the same department of Lambayeque, in an archaeological site known as Huaca Rajada. Huaca Rajada, by the way, means in English, Huaca, again, temple, and Rajada means like broken. Someone, when something is rajado, means that it's broken and it's also ruined as well. So the archaeological site that, well, was home of this tomb, actually look in really bad shape. Is the picture you see on the, let's say, on the right hand side bottom part. That's the way how the archaeological site looks like nowadays. In the distance, if you don't have a trained eye, you would definitely say this is a hill, a mount, or a promontory, but not a temple. And that is because most of the material inside the temple ended up being exposed by years, hundreds of years of erosion caused by the very few rains that we had in our history, but sometimes important rains when El Nino was here. And on top, you can see the recreation of how we believe that site looked like. You can see the ramps, especially. Notice the ramps, very, very important as a way to access to the top, to the most sacred section. So there is a part in the bottom, let's say, of the temples. So we still are in the picture on the top, on the right hand side. Also, we can see there are two big temples, and there's a smaller lower temple that is in the corner of the picture. So there, in that temple, or in that portion of the site, is where in the year 1987, Peruvian archaeologists, actually a team of archaeologists, but the leader of that team was Walter Alba. He originally from Cajamarca. My part of my family comes from Cajamarca, so I'm very proud of that land. He will discover a fascinating tomb that was known for a long time, and I think it still is known as the Peruvian Tutankhamun, no? The tomb of the Peruvian Tutankhamun. Why the comparison with Tutankhamun? That it was a pharaoh from Egypt. Well, when Tutankhamun was discovered, well, he or his tomb revolutionized the archaeological world, especially of Egyptology, because until that moment, the archaeologists were not able to find an intact tomb of a pharaoh. No? So for us, the equivalence is that until the year 1987, with the discovery of Walter Alba. Until that moment, we didn't have an idea how the Moche kings, the leaders, the rulers of that time, were buried. We had evidences of mummies, evidences of some golden pieces and fabrics, but they were all resulting of looting. They were all resulting of stealing objects from tombs, and of course, like leaving them completely destroyed behind. So looters, what they do is when they find a tomb, so they take as fast as they can all the objects that they find could be valuable. The rest they just abandon, and they take, well, everything, and they put in the black market, and that's how the pieces finally like go around the world, but without any context, any understanding of the place where they came from. So nothing. So, well, our Peruvian Tutankhamun, or the Lord of Sicán, which is actually the name given to this authority, was the first of its kind. And well, there you can see some pictures of how the digging happened, how hard also was to get into the tomb, and the tomb was many many meters below the surface, as you can see. And what we know, for example, a couple of interesting things about the Lord of Sipan is that, first of all, genetically, also the people that nowadays live in that location are connected to that let's say to that people, not to that society, that they were not so different. So that's by genetic investigations. Also, that he was buried with several people who were sacrificed at the moment he died. And he, well, died from, well, seems that some form of natural causes, even though, well, back then people didn't live like a long time. And he was a very important person, as we know, from the beautiful like jewelry, from the masks and from the crowns, and from everything. And also, something even more interesting, like years after the investigation of this tomb concluded, another tomb was discovered below him. So we know that that particular site was a place of cemetery, used as a cemetery for generations. And that other person that was buried below him, and that below or lower level, let's say, was ancient. So there was about 100 years distance between the Lord of Sipan and the old lords of Sipan, the one below. We know that genetically these two people were connected. Also, they were the one that was discovered first was a descendant of the other one. So, well, this is fantastic, and that shows also that power was passed generation to generation. And well, this is an image, well, taken from the picture taken from the museum, where you see also a recreation in life size, real size, of the Lord of Sipan, and how he well, he looked like, at least, well, more or less the time he died. And also the faces that you see in those mannequins were taken from as models, taken from the people of the nearby communities, which are descendants of the Muchik. And the pictures you see, by the way, over there on the corner on the right hand side, are pictures from the beginnings of the 20th century, showing, well, the particularities of these people, of these Muchik descendants. So there was not really much blood mixing of the people of that community, even still nowadays. So they haven't lose their most of their genetic genes, pre-Hispanic genes. And well, here you can see also another important site, the archaeological site of Batán Grande. Batán Grande is associated to the Sican or Lambayeque culture. This is a society that existed after the Moches. The Moche culture divided at the end of their existence in two groups, in two, let's say, branches. the moche from the north and the moche from the south. And those different, let's say, visions of art and religion that started to become more and more apart with the passing of the time turned into two societies later after the downfall of the moches, probably caused by climatic challenges that put in really bad position the representatives of the religion of the moche. So after the downfall of the moches in the north, we have the appearance of the Sicán or Lambayeque culture. And this society also continued building in this pyramid shape with ramps also to the top, similar. So the picture on the top left shows one of the temples in the circuit called Batán Grande archaeological complex. And again, we see the mud and there is a forest around it. And the forest is a forest very special because it's a forest from the desert, basically. No, it's a desert forest of Peru. Is the last one we have in South America of these particularities. And the tree you see there, the many trees, is the algarrobo. It's a tree of the desert. So the museum that has also the pieces from this site, because they are not in exhibit in the very archaeological site. Also, the woods that are surrounding the temple are protected. The name is Bosque de Pomac, or the Forest of Pomac. So the pieces were moved to another location, not way too far away from the site. It could be visited in one day also, in one circuit. So the Museum of Sican, that's the name given to this museum, shows the evidences discovered in this place. And by the way, the creation of this museum and the investigation of the tombs in the archaeological site Batán Grande, we have to thank to Japanese archaeologist Izumi Shimada. And also the museum, and most of the money to build that museum came from Japan. It was a donation from Japan. So I always mention the participation of foreigners in trying to also help us understand our pre-Hispanic history, our past. Japanese archaeologists, Polish archaeologists, also many American archaeologists have come. They are, I think, the ones that, if I have to like name honorifically, the nationalities that have supported us the most. Of course, not forgetting other nationalities, but I think like in numbers, in amounts, Japanese, Polish, and Americans also have been very consistent in their support here in Peru. And Izumi Shimada was the person who studied the archaeological site and discovered two burials that were very, very important, and they are the ones actually in exhibit in this museum, the objects and the recreations. For example, in one of these burials, that actually the second one discovered by the archaeologists, there was this man, this authority that was buried in fetal position, as you see him there. And also close to him, there were lots of women buried. Like all around him, and these women, they were genetically connected between them, so they were like sisters probably. And one investigation says that probably they were weavers, of the highest quality, and probably he was taking all of his weavers as an escort to the afterlife, because he will be needing someone to make textiles for him. Huh? So it's really the belief that it was necessary for them to carry all the things and to take with him the people that the authority will need in the afterlife to continue having the same prerogatives and the same treatment that he had or she had in this life. And this other tomb, which actually was the first one in chronological order that was discovered by the Japanese archaeologist Shimada, is also very interesting because it shows that the main character, was buried upside down, or at least this person was discovered at the moment when the tomb was opened upside down. Okay, so there is a possibility too that the way how the body ended up like this was because somehow, like, due to the phreatic table, the waters underground, like the floor was wet and the position of the bundle changed. But our archaeologists believe that the position probably is related. It was intentional, and if it was the case, it was related with an intention of, like, sort of like allowing this character to rebirth. Also, the reborning of someone. In this case, associating the position upside down of this person that is already in fetal embryonic position with the position of a baby in the womb of the mother at the end of the gestation process. Mhm. So this could be also another interesting explanation. And well, we came out to the last archaeological site of my selection, and that one is Chan Chan, located in Trujillo. We're back in La Libertad department. Very important archaeological site, huge, about 14 square kilometers. So it is a huge archaeological site that used to be even bigger in the ancient times. And it was a sacred city, a city that had different complexes, different palaces inside. And well, it was used by the Chimú culture, which was a society that existed parallel to the Incas. They were conquered by the Incas, but never completely defeated by them. The moment they took the opportunity to separate from the Incas and going their own way, the moment they saw that, they took it. And that was the time of the arrival of the conquistadors, when they created alliances and close relations with the Spaniards, with the intention of regaining their own independence. And also, we know that this really resulted in a way, in something positive to the Chimú, because the Chimus, they didn't really face mass destruction against their temples. Chan Chan, for example, this city that was still in use as a sacred city during the time of the arrival of the conquistadors, was not destroyed by the Spaniards, but the Spaniards decided to build a city not too far away, about 10, 15 kilometers away from this city that was very close to the sea. And that other city that the Spaniards built is nowadays known as Trujillo. So Trujillo had an initial establishing in the year 1534, very early in our history. And the year after, Conquistador Pizarro went to that city and created, well, the city of Trujillo officially, naming the city, by the way, after his hometown, Trujillo de Extremadura, in Extremadura, Spain. So, well, here you can see a bit of the recreation on the left-hand side and how the site looks like nowadays. I was trying to find out the dimensions in miles. So I found out 5.4 square miles. So it is indeed a big site, the one nowadays protected. And it is a museum, so you can visit the archaeological site, see its murals. Most of the murals in Chan Chan sort of like, in a way, also recall the sea, the nets, for example, that picture on the upper part on the right hand side, the nets of the fishermen, and the importance of fishing also for the Chimú culture. And also, again, the fish in the picture on the lower section, that lower picture shows this group of fish that is going in one direction. So what is interesting is, like on the other mural in front, the fish are going to the opposite direction. So one interpretation is probably that one of these groups of fishes, they are following a current, and that current is El Nino current, or the sorry, the first one would be the normal one, which is the Peruvian current or Humboldt current, the cold one, and the other one will be El Nino, which is the one produced by the hot waters. So it's like the meeting between, like, these two currents, and what happens also when that occurs here, which can be also related with the alteration of the climate. And the site museum of Chan Chan, which is next to the archaeological site. So you can go inside as a part of a circuit with a tour guide in there. It's the best way to do it with a tour guide. So you can go there, visit the site, visit the ponds, visit the aqueducts, visit the plazas, and then after you can go to the Museum of Chan Chan and see the objects that are preserved in that location. And well, people from the North Coast, they are so proud of their pre-Hispanic heritage that if you also go to the north, you go to Lambayeque, you have to visit in Chiclayo City the Paseo de Yortuque or Yortuque Boulevard, where an artist has recreated all the pre-Hispanic deities from the North Coast. Also, forget about the Incan gods. Now, these are the gods. Those are the gods that were worshipped by the people of the North Coast, and they are sometimes really, really like terribly looking, but they were so well made, so well recreated, probably as how in the imagination of these pre-Hispanic people also they look like. So thank you very, very much. Also, I'm just leaving you with this to circle up this event. Well, in the North Coast of Peru, we have a breed of dog original from the warm coastal territories of Peru, the Peruvian hairless dog. And there was a very beautiful initiative some years ago that now has been taken to the whole length of the coast of Peru, in this beautiful country, in order to preserve this breed of dog, to also promote the adoption of these dogs, pure breed, hairless Peruvian dog, in the archaeological sites, because they are naturally like perfect for living in these environments. Like their skin, there's not hair in it, just a little like punk on the top of the head. They are adapted naturally to the heat, and all of that. So in order to preserve that breed, well, now we have a law that protects it, and you always see hairless dogs in archaeological sites in the whole country. But in the coast, because in the Andes is way too cold for them. Poor things. And in the jungle, that's not really good location for those dogs in the coast. So well, thank you, amigos, for everything. I really hope you enjoy today's event. Let me also remove this picture, and muchas gracias to my friends who've been with me also live today. Remember that, well, this event is going to be posted for the rest of the day here on YouTube if you want to see it, but also if you wish to have access to the full series, to the series dedicated to Peru, from Cusco to, let's say, Arequipa, which was the very last one I did before starting this one. Well, please consider becoming my Patreon with a very little donation, also starting from $2 until, well, 2, 5, 10, and 20. If you have the economy to do that, you can also support this event. I'm leaving here on the chat the information of the link. You Once you get in there, also you have all the information if you wish to become a subscriber. Also, any donation that you can offer to the implementation of this platform, or maybe helping me to create more events, that is, of course, highly, highly appreciated. And I'm leaving also here on the chat my PayPal link if you wish to donate. But also, other ways you can do to help me is, well, commenting, giving me a thumbs up, for example, sharing with friends what I'm doing. Also, if you wish to see my upcoming events, I do them always live here on YouTube for free. Well, there is a segment in YouTube that is about like future live streams, so you can be always updated there with no problems, with no difficulties. Also, if you don't know how to reach there, well, on my Patreon. If you click there, you can see also I have attached there, pin there, my the link how to see my upcoming events. Tomorrow we have another one that's going to be at 10 a.m. also, and we continue with the North Coast of Peru, where I will be telling you more about, well, the colonial influences, the Spanish influences basically back in colonial times. And well, we'll talk about, well, the marinera in the north. We're going to talk about the food in the north, the architecture in the north coast of Peru. So that's going to happen tomorrow. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for your participation. It's been beautiful hour with you, all over an hour. And well, see you soon. See you tomorrow. Sending a big hug to you all. And until the next time. Gracias, amigos. Chao, chao. Nos vemos. Adiós. Hasta pronto. Bye, bye.